eat it. Not that very hard. Not that hard to do. You know. But another thing that's been driving Bethel crazy is now also Vanguard is circling them for a now also Vanguard is trying to do a documentary on Jehovah's Witnesses, but National Geographic is going after Bethel as well.
Wow.
And that has the office going nuts. As a matter of fact, it almost stopped us for a whole week because they were starting to shoot from surrounding buildings, and they were trying to shoot they were trying to film inside of Bethel from the surrounding buildings. And
So
they're afraid. They're really afraid. They actually had us a memo to make sure that if there's any windows that are exposed, to close your shades. People are trying to film. It's stupid. It's really stupid. I think I would love to see. Bless you. I would love to actually see a documentary on us. As a matter of fact, I heard one of the actual JW Net guys say Vanguard should have a 5-minute session on Johnny the Bethelite. But yeah, they're like I said. Anybody who's out there, like I said, if you're out there and you have something against Bethel, or if you have anything against, if you have anything against the organization, and you have a claim, go for it. Don't hush up. Don't be quiet about it. Hit them where it hurts. Because believe it or not, you guys are slowing this work down. You guys are slowing the things that are going down that are happening right now is because of you guys. A lot of the hard things that are happening, the decision making they're forcing their hands and they're making mistakes. Okay, best thing is, it always is the thing. Always when it comes to empires like this, this is what it is. It's almost like a organized crime ring or something like that. I mean, you can sue them into submission. When they have no more funds, they have no one. They can't pay for legal defense anymore, and that's it. When they say turn over every file you have and you have no legal defense, that's it. So I suggest that anybody
Johnny,
who has
can I
a
ask
claim,
you? This
go
is
for
Zachary.
It. Yeah.
Can I ask you? All that you said was going on. What's their stated reason for doing? You said that you're talking about the kitchen, a lot of stuff going on. What's their stated reason for it?
Oh, for the lack of food and stuff in the kitchen, and to stopping people from coming in and eating and stuff like that. Well, they said they're tightening the belt. They're tightening the belt, cutting the fat. They have to conserve money, which makes no sense to me when their millions of dollars are coming in from their sales of the buildings and the side apartments, and also from other ventures that they have. I also didn't know I didn't know they had in Canada they had stock in a beef yard in Canada. I didn't know that they had actual stock in a company up there. And it's one of the largest ones up there. It's one of the biggest importers into the United States, but they have stock up there, and they have a lot of funds, so I have no idea why they're doing it, but I think more than likely, like, what's happening is that these lawsuits are being settled. And besides the stupid project that they're, the project in Walk Hill, it's not gonna work. I mean, for me, it's not, from what I see, it's not gonna happen the way that they want it to happen. It's gonna be a disaster. The materials they're using are subpar. They're trying to build like a small Waco up there, and if they pull it off, it's gonna be unfortunately on the backs of the people where they, like they used to say, we used to say it in my home all the time, a person who who has a one ham, a huge ham under one arm and begging with the other for money, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what basically they've been doing, you know. I mean, you can't even go. I mean, can't even tell you how many times I've gone to the meeting, and I've gone to different meetings recently because of going back and forth from you know, to Warwick and back and forth, and I hear the same thing, you know, when it comes from when it's time to give the announcements. It's the same thing. You know, asking for donations, asking for money. You know, and some of these congregations, especially near Warwick, there's a congregation not too far away that it is. I mean, when I mean poor. I mean poor. I mean, Warwick is not the most richest place. You know, I mean, it has its little pockets of wealth, of course, but it's not, you know, Fifth Avenue. You know,
right.
And there's this little tiny congregation that we went to where literally the stage, there is no stage really. The seats go all the way up onto the stage, okay? And there is really no literature counter. There's a stand in the back, like a newsstand type thing, and that's where you get your literature. And the bathroom is co-ed, so it's small. And to hear them say that they need, you know, come on, put RBC up there to help them out. That's what they need. You know, don't beg for money from people who don't have it. People who I mean, I only went to that congregation, you know, a few times, but when you see dirt on dresses and suits, you know people are doing bad.
Sure.
You know, financially they're doing rough. You know,
do you hear anything about they're getting rid of the conventions next year, instead having the people to go to assembly halls? Or is that just
there's things going on there because they think that it'll be more, but it ain't going to make sense for them because they make more money that way. If you were to cut off the conventions, I mean, in one way it made sense because in New York we overuse, in New York, Florida, California, San Francisco, and Chicago, we overuse our halls for our conventions and assemblies way too much. Okay, inside New Jersey for New York Hall, and in New York we use Stanley Theater too much to the point where the balcony is falling. Okay, and that renovation for that's supposed to happen at the end of this year, which we keep pushing it back, and we keep reinforcing the steel, but eventually the balcony is going to fall. But we overuse these halls, so they were thinking of cutting off the assembly for the conventions and just using the assembly halls. But the problem is the conventions are the big money makers. That's when people pull out the most, you know. You have the people that come from the street, you know, who are studies, family members who don't know what's what, and they don't put in their $5, $10 that they put in, or $20 during the assembly. They put in their $100 during the conventions. Okay, conventions always pull in the $100 bills instead of the $5 and $10, $20 bills during an assembly. You know, so when going together with that, I highly doubt they'll go through with cutting them off. I mean, it'll be. I mean, it's a big moneymaker. I mean, I have not seen even. Okay, I haven't. We lost. Let me see. We lost Nassau Coliseum when I was a child, and we were in Nassau Coliseum. We never went under, and our circuit, and I'm not going to say what circuit I was in, but our circuit never, and that was back then, when I was a kid, we never went under. I always remember we were always in like the $30,000-$40,000, you know, and that was in Nassau Coliseum. Stanley Theater pulls in every time that there's a convention. I always hear everywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 during a convention, and that's a small theater. You know.
Yeah, some folks I know in Connecticut, they go to Newburgh, New York. There used to be a Monroe Assembly Hall, but they sold that years ago. Now they go to Newburgh now. But now what they're doing, they're having their, like you said, their district conventions and everything is held there. That Kingdom Hall there in Newburgh, New York.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything there
and
now.
And also don't forget the credit cards and ATM machines now that they have in the assembly halls.
Mm-hmm.
So we all take pictures in front of it nowadays. So we never thought.
Yeah,
we would
you
see
predicted those, and they definitely have come about.
Yep.
I
It's hilarious.
don't think there's too much reason for people to be doubting that you actually are either in Bethel or you definitely have connections there.
Trust me, it's just you could see it. I mean, all we need right now is a JW credit card, and that's all we need.
Oh no, you shouldn't have suggested it. They might actually do that now.
The JW credit card. Don't leave home without it.
Don't come to the assembly without it.
Don't come to the assembly without it. You don't need it. You have 0 APR for the first 15 months. Then we're just going to charge you the rest of your life.
They might do that.
I wouldn't surprise. I don't know if you guys remember my parents told me back in the 80s they used to have a ticket system for when they used to feed during the assemblies and stuff like that. I didn't know, and that came out recently. I didn't know that was a scam that Watchtower was playing.
Food tickets?
You remember the food tickets during the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You have you can buy $5 worth of them, and you can buy you break off 5 of them for a soda or whatever.
Exactly.
You can buy
sandwich, egg McMuffins, and chicken sandwiches and stuff like that.
I think I know what the scam is.
Yeah.
The scam is that once you paid for them, you didn't get any money back for any unused tickets.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't give. Besides that, they would give you. Besides that, they would buy. You weren't. Oh, okay. You weren't. You would know what you're getting depending on the assembly. Okay, you just knew that you needed your tickets. And you would. A lot of people, unfortunately, would buy a whole bunch for their family. And sometimes they would publicize they would never tell you what cost what until the actual day of the assembly. And then you couldn't return it was shot one. Shot two was they weren't telling you that they were buying the food from a third party carrier. So all the money that they were giving you, for all the money that was given, you were literally paying pennies on the dollar.
Uh-huh.
You were paying, $4 or $5 for
cold cut sandwiches.
Yeah, cold cuts or a chicken sandwich or my parents told me that sometimes, depending, they would have good food, but from what we saw, they were going from a company that is still around called Jetro, which they have basically microwavable junk food, or if not microwavable junk food, then cold cuts that are ready to eat, basically. And these are very cheap, beyond very cheap. Yeah. You're talking about, there isn't any cheaper than this stuff, okay? And so besides the fact that you can't get your money back, you're buying incredibly subpar food for, I don't know how many tickets, but they said it used to be 5 tickets for lunch.
And they used to harp on us, man.
Breakfast.
They used to harp on you for going somewhere else to eat, too.
Yeah,
that
was another big thing.
Don't disrespect the arrangement, yeah.
Exactly.
Eat the food here. Don't go to these restaurants. There are some nice restaurants around the convention site we would like to go. So some of my friends would say, well, we'll just put in, but we're going to go out to eat anyway, because they didn't want to eat those terrible cold cuts.
You can only imagine the hundreds of thousands of dollars that were made.
Oh, yeah.
During the 80s because of those little tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And then when people started to catch wind of it, wait a minute, I'm not getting my money back for the tickets. Oh, disappeared. It's by donation now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
they had
the second
overbooked
there
big
was a
cardboard
complaint.
boxes all around. You just drop money in it, and then they would say if they were on target or if there was a deficit.
Yeah. And no matter what, here's another thing. There's if anybody is out there and if you're inside a committee for if you're listening and you're inside the committee for the assemblies that have been happening for the past 3 years, you know that inside your handbook it tells you that if you have the exact amount that you need for the assembly, and you know that your circuit because they know every circuit, they usually estimate how much a circuit gives because of how much they've given in the past. So every circuit has a certain amount that they usually give. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So every circuit has a certain amount that they give, and that Bethel knows and the Watchtower knows that you give every single time that you go to an assembly or a convention. Now,
what are you talking about? Donations? What are you talking about?
Donations. Yeah, if they see that the donations cover the cost, but they're lower than what what they usually give, even though that they say that they're only trying to cover the cost of the assembly, they're only trying to cover the cost of having it that day, they'll lie and say there's a deficit.
Just to get up to that amount, so it never goes below what they're used to getting.
Yeah. There's only been a few that I've never heard of them not having a deficit, and it's because it's a high class area. It's a very high class area, like the ones in Manhattan and Fifth Avenue, inside Central Park West congregation in Soho. Those congregations and that area, they never have a deficit because there's people with a lot of money who go to that assembly, and they never have that announcement. So, but everyone else, there's always, guaranteed, there's always an announcement. Always an announcement. No matter what, there's always an announcement. And I go upstairs sometimes, and you go upstairs to check on an auditing department, and you check out, and you hear what they're going through, and they're laughing, and they're joking, and, they're counting out, and they're, after they do the final count out, they give it to the brother in charge, the elder who's in charge, and he goes over it again, and then he gives a phone call, and the phone call goes directly to Watchtower and tell, look, this is how much we have, and then they'll tell you to push or not to push.
Push?
And then unfortunately, push for more.
Oh.
Basically to flip you upside down and shake you.